Good morning, this is Faith at Faith and Books. It's another Sunday morning and I'm just doing my weekly update. One day I'm going to get it together and I'm going to make 2 videos on Sunday morning, and one of them will be a tag, and I'll start participating in Tag Tuesday again. But right now I just don't have my act together. So I'm sitting in my driveway. Hopefully none of my neighbors are going to come out the door. I don't think so. It's early Sunday morning and it's very wet. We've had really wet weather. Hope you had a good New Year. We had a good New Year, except yesterday on New Year's Day, I dared to drink a little bit of not white wine, red wine, and then I had a little bit of champagne. I ate some chocolate chip cookies. Plus, with the bad weather, I woke up at 3 with a horrendous migraine. It's gone now. I used to, when I was younger, my migraines used to last like 24 hours. Now they only last a couple of hours, but I'm so wilted afterwards. I don't feel very, I don't know. I don't know what this will be like because I don't feel like my brain is functioning at full capacity right now. Anyway, so I was all excited to make a video about everything that's going on right now. I'm very excited for the new year in reading. I've joined all these different things. I'm on these different Voxer groups. We started off the City of God. And I joined the Don Quixote with read along, which isn't happening till March, but I'm very excited for that because I read Don Quixote 8 or 10 years ago, and I've been wanting to reread it ever since. I loved it, and I'm interested in reading a new translation. So that's exciting, but that's not till March. And then there's a bunch of challenges going on that seem really fun. I also joined the Palliser series read along, but I've already read the first 2 just last year. So at the end of last year, I think September through December, I read Can You Forgive Her and Phineas Finn. And so I'm going to wait. I don't think they're getting to the next one in the series, which is the Eustace Diamonds, until April. But still, I'm in that Voxer group now. And then, there's a bunch of other stuff going on too. And then there's this, I can't say it. It's Februency, Febru Regency. Anyway, it's reading Regency stuff in February. And I'm thinking of reading another book by Maria Edgeworth for that, and maybe doing some poetry for that challenge. And then, and then there's a naturalist book read along, which is all year long. I saw it announced on Aldi Books. I think Doris at Aldi Books, and then she's doing it with someone else, and I can't remember. I just subscribed to her channel. Anyway, I'm interested in that as well. There's a couple of books. I'm not going to be able to read all of them, but I noticed when I looked back at Goodreads for 2021, the first book I reviewed was Eager, the book about beavers and how they're keystone species and all the new science on how beavers interact with an ecosystem. And then my last book that I reviewed on Goodreads was a biography of Audubon, which I'll review briefly here. I've already reviewed it at Goodreads, and I think I did something on Instagram. But anyway, so I thought it was pretty neat that I began and ended the year with a naturalist book. So, and then there's another, is it Mrs. Reads a Lot is doing her 1001 books book club. And she had a couple of books that I was interested in. One was a Walden. I think that was in April. And so, gosh, in April, I'll be doing the Eustace Diamonds and Walden. Why not? And then one of them could be on audio. And then the other book she's doing that I was interested in, I think was for next October. The Tenant of Wildfeld Hall, I think. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that was the book. I can't remember when she had it in the year. Anyway, so that's a neat thing. So there's so many neat things happening. I'm quite excited about my reading life right now. I'm really enjoying it. I started Felix Holt. I'm really enjoying it. I started City of God. I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm really happy right now. I'll do a quick review of the two books I just finished up, December 30th and December 31st. On December 30th, I finished this book, The Gilded Girl. Can you see that? And this is kind of a riff-off on A Little Princess. In fact, it made me want to read A Little Princess again. I haven't read that in ages. I barely remember it. I've read The Secret Garden more often. But it's sort of a takeoff on that, but it's got its own distinct spin. So it will remind you of it, but it's not the same story. I don't think. I don't remember The Little Princess that much. Anyway, I really liked it. It was just an old-fashioned, satisfying children's story. And, it had, it's got morals in it. It's about about friendship and about justice. So I enjoyed it. It's got magic in it, but it's not a creepy magic. It's kind of a sweet story. So I really, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend this if you have a young. I guess it's more girlsy, but a guy could read it too. A kid, a young man could read it too. It was a good book. It was a good story, and I enjoyed it. And as I've mentioned before, I actually know the author because she's my co-administrator of the Buy Nothing group, which I happen to be the co-admin for, or I was the only admin, and now I have someone to help me. Anyway, so I recommend this. And then I did finish that Audubon book. It's called Under a Wild Sky, and then it was on my Kindle, The Something Life of John James Audubon. Audubon was really interesting character, but very flawed, and he had a hard life. So it wasn't the most uplifting biography. I didn't know anything about him, except, I forgot to bring it out. I have a beautiful children's book that tells the story of when he was 18 and he first immigrated to the United States, and an experiment he did to see if migrating birds returned to the same nest. And it's a beautifully illustrated children's book, very inspirational. But he had a long-lasting marriage to Lucy Blakewell, who was a English girl. Her family had migrated into the U.S., and they were both living outside of Philadelphia on these big farms, or they were calling them plantations. And he marries her. He falls in love with her when he's 20, I think. She's 18, and they get married. And they're all set to go west. They go down to Kentucky when it's just after Daniel Boone has gone in and really started to settle it. So I guess there's a couple generations after that. Maybe not. I think Daniel Boone was 80 when Audubon moved to Kentucky, something like that. And then they lived there, and they were kind of successful there. But then the Depression of 1811 hit, and Audubon wasn't very good with money. He tried to be a store owner and a businessman. He wasn't very good at it. And they lost all their money. And he wound up just like, I would say for at least the next 10 years, just trying to get by and leaving his family for long periods of time to try to go and make money. Meanwhile, his wife really supported the family and their two sons. They had two daughters that died very, very young, but they had two sons that grew to adulthood. But she wound up being a governess or a school teacher, and she kind of kept bread on the table. And Audubon, anyway, even before that, Audubon would just disappear for weeks. He'd be out hunting. He was really in his element when he went out into the wilderness. He was a prodigious hunter. In fact, he killed, I was really shocked at how many birds he killed. He would kill them and stuff them, taxidermy. And then he would paint them that way. He was amazingly talented painter, self-taught. But he would tell stories about himself all the time. He said that he studied under David In France, no. He would just tell whoppers. He said that he went hunting with Daniel Boone when Daniel Boone was 80 and wasn't hunting anymore. I mean, he just told. I mean, the author of the biography said he wasn't what do you call it, a pathological liar, but he just exaggerated, and he was kind of a mixed bag. He really was a mixed bag. And he had so many financial troubles, and his marriage was rocky at various points. And you never really got a sense of his wife's personality. She stuck with him. She did love him, but man, he was hard to be married to. He really was. And he had his own anxieties. I don't know. It was not an uplifting book. I didn't find it an uplifting book. And his great works, which are, I didn't even know about the second one, but I knew about The Birds of America. But the other one was the Ornithological Biography, which he wrote. They just it took him like a dozen years of hard work trying to get people to publish the work and be accepted. And he made so many enemies, and it really took a toll on his life. He had to be away from his family. Europe or England was more accepting than America of him, and so it took a long time for him to get any sort of reputation here. So it was a good book. It was interesting, pretty well written, but it was a little bit, I don't know, I found it a little troubling too. Anyway, so that's my review of that. Oh, wait, it's already 11 minutes. The only other thing I want to say is I'm also doing Flannery O'Connor. I got to talk to somebody about Flannery O'Connor. I read The Geranium, which is the first story. That was a story that I'd read back in college, I think. And, you know, she's very impactful, as they say. Her stories pack a wallop. Even though this one didn't have an ending, it just abruptly ends. But I think that's part of the effect, that you're just left in the middle with no resolution. It's a story about this old man from the South who moves in with his daughter in some apartment in New York City, and he's just totally out of his element, and he's nostalgic for being back down in, I guess, Georgia, in his boarding house. He's never rich. He's always kind of lower class. And what he mostly reminisces about is going fishing or hunting with this black servant at the boarding house who lived in the basement of the boarding house. Of course, they use Flannery O'Connor uses the N-word prolifically. These stories, I think, were published back in the 1940s, maybe. So he's reminiscing about all the good times he had with this, basically a friend. But there was that relationship from, the kind of pathological South, where somehow you could be friendly, but you always had to know that the white person was superior to the black person. But then there's, in this apartment house where he's sitting, and he's an old man, so he has trouble walking, he has trouble breathing, he keeps talking about his throat closing up. He likes to sit by the window and look out, and right across on his window is another window from the next apartment, and they would put out this geranium, just one geranium, and that sort of triggered all this nostalgia for him. But a black man moves in next door, and he's just appalled that they're going to live next door to a black guy on the same, level. And he talks about the guy dresses in a nice suit, and, he's kind of jealous of the guy wearing these nice suits, because that the main character never had a nice suit in his life. Anyway, and then he encounters this neighbor who helps him, who's really kind and helps him. But he's appalled. He doesn't know how to process somebody, a black man, meeting him on his own level, or like even being superior to him in terms of dress and education and health and everything. And he doesn't know how to process it. And then the geranium pot falls off the balcony, and he gets this really nasty interaction with the guy who lives in that apartment, who's a white guy who's much nastier to him than the kind black neighbor. And so I think everything's like full of symbolism, and maybe I'm not taking in what it means. But honestly, I find her depressing. She's depressing. And I was thinking because the most recent kind of Southern writer that I've read is Confederacy of Dunces by, oh my gosh, what was his name? O'Toole. O'Toole was his last name. And that was like laugh out loud funny. But it was kind of the same idea. You could see how narrow and twisted and mentally ill the main character is, Ignatius O'Reilly. And there's no change there either. You just see what he is. But there was so, I guess the thing is, I don't feel like Flannery O'Connor maybe has a sense of humor. I don't know. So they're very troubling stories, and I'm going to read another one today. I'm trying to read one a day for a week. But I just don't know. I just don't know that the jury's out on whether or not I really am a Flannery O'Connor fan. I can appreciate people being really, really good writers and still not be a fan. I'm like that with, like, say, the Brontes. I understand that they're great writers, not my cup of tea. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, I'm just babbling, so I will stop babbling. There was something, though. I'm sure I've missed something that I meant to say. But, all right, well, that's it from me for now. I hope you're feeling better than I am, and I hope your new year is off to a good start. We're having it's really spiking with COVID around here, and everyone's sort of up in the air on what they're going to do, and my daughter is due to have a C-section in 12 days, and everything's kind of feels a little, I don't know, dicey. So I hope you are healthy, and I hope you have a great reading year and a great reading week. And so until next time, happy reading. Bye.